The first signal came on a Tuesday. Dr. Sarah Chen was drinking her third cup of coffee when the quantum communication array at the Deep Space Research Station picked up something impossible. The readings showed a transmission using technology Earth had only theorized about in classified papers. The signal was clean, purposeful, and completely alien. "Get Director Walsh on the line," Sarah told her assistant, her hands shaking as she stared at the display. "Tell him we have contact." Within 6 hours, every major government on Earth knew about the signal. Within 12 hours, world leaders were gathering in emergency sessions. The message was simple, but chilling when translated through the universal mathematical constants the aliens used. "Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet of star system you call Sul. You have been observed. You have been judged. Compliance is required." The full message came 3 days later. It arrived simultaneously at every major communication hub on Earth, overriding television broadcasts, radio stations, and internet connections worldwide. The voice that spoke was not human, though it used perfect English, Mandarin, Spanish, and dozens of other Earth languages at the same time. "I am High Arbiter Veltar of the Galactic Council," the voice announced. "Your species has achieved faster-than-light communication, which marks you as a potential threat to galactic stability. You are hereby ordered to cease all space exploration activities and prepare for relocation to a protected world where your kind will be properly supervised." The message displayed images of massive crystalline beings alongside creatures that looked like walking coral formations. Other aliens appeared too, some mechanical, others that seemed to be made of flowing energy. All of them looked down at Earth with the same expression humans might use when looking at ants. "Your species shows signs of violence and chaos," Veltar continued. "Your history is filled with wars, your cultures are divided, and your behavior is unpredictable. Such traits cannot be allowed to spread beyond your home system. You have 7 of your days to begin compliance. Refuse, and we will be forced to contain you through other means." President Martinez of the United Earth Government stood before the largest gathering of world leaders in human history. The emergency session was being held in Geneva, but millions more were connected virtually from every nation on the planet. "They think we're animals," she said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. "They think we need to be caged for the safety of the galaxy." The Russian delegate leaned forward. "What do we know about their capabilities?" General Harrison, head of Earth's combined military forces, activated a holographic display. "Based on their transmission technology alone, they're at least 1,000 years ahead of us, maybe more. They can override our communications at will. If they wanted to destroy us right now, they probably could. But they haven't," observed Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Japan's space program. "They're offering us a choice, even if it's not much of one." President Martinez looked around the room. "So what do we choose? Do we submit to beings who see us as dangerous children? Or do we stand our ground?" The debate that followed lasted 18 hours. Representatives from every nation, every major religion, every significant political movement on Earth had their say. Some argued for submission. Better to live under alien oversight than to face extinction. Others demanded defiance. Humanity had not come this far to bow to cosmic bullies. In the end, it came down to a vote. The result was closer than anyone expected, but clear enough. 847 votes for defiance, 723 votes for submission. Then we're agreed. President Martinez announced to the world, "Earth rejects the Galactic Council's ultimatum. We will not abandon space exploration, and we will not accept forced relocation. If they want to contain humanity, they'll have to try." The reaction across Earth was immediate and intense. Some celebrated in the streets, proud that humanity had chosen to stand up for itself. Others began preparing for the worst, stocking up on supplies and saying goodbye to loved ones. Religious leaders held prayer vigils while scientists worked frantically to develop new defenses. Dr. Chen found herself leading a team of the world's best physicists and engineers in a desperate attempt to reverse engineer alien technology from the transmission data. They had less than 4 days left. The signal shows they're using quantum entanglement on a massive scale, she explained to her team. If we can figure out how they're doing it, maybe we can disrupt their communications or even track their ships. Meanwhile, at military bases around the world, soldiers prepared for a war unlike any in human history. General Harrison knew their conventional weapons would be useless against technology that advanced, but humans had always been good at improvising. "We need to think differently," he told his staff. "They expect us to fight like civilized beings, with rules and honor. That's not what humans do when we're desperate." The second alien message came exactly 7 Earth days after the first. This time, Veltar's voice carried a note of surprise. "Your refusal is unexpected," the High Arbiter said. "Most species choose survival over pride. We had hoped you would be wiser." "Very well. The Galactic Council's enforcement fleet is now en route to your system. You have approximately 37 of your days before they arrive. Use this time to reconsider your position." The transmission included new images. Vast ships that looked more like living creatures than machines, their hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. Energy weapons that could carve through asteroids like butter. Shields that could deflect anything humanity might throw at them. But along with the images came something else. Technical data that the aliens probably didn't realize they were transmitting. Dr. Chen's team pounced on every bit of information. "They're showing off," she realized during one late-night analysis session. "They want us to be afraid, so they're giving us glimpses of their technology, but that means we can learn from it." The discoveries came in rapid succession. The alien ships used biological components that could be disrupted by specific frequencies. Their energy weapons had a charging cycle that left them vulnerable for brief moments. Their shields operated on principles that could theoretically be overloaded. None of this made humanity's chances much better, but it gave them hope. As the days counted down, Earth transformed itself into a fortress. Every space station became an armed platform. Every satellite was equipped with makeshift weapons. Mining ships were converted into bombers. Even civilian spacecraft were volunteering to join the defense fleet. The most surprising change was how unified humanity became. Old rivalries between nations seemed meaningless when faced with extinction. Resources flowed freely between countries. Scientists shared their discoveries without regard for patents or national security. Soldiers from different armies trained together like they had been allies for generations. "I've never seen anything like it," President Martinez told her cabinet. "It's like the whole species has become one organism focused on survival." Religious leaders spoke of a divine test. Scientists talked about evolutionary pressure. Military strategists called it the ultimate motivation. Whatever it was, humanity was more united than it had ever been in its history. But unity wouldn't be enough against the firepower heading their way. On day 35, long-range sensors detected the alien fleet. It was massive. Over 300 ships of various sizes, all heading directly for Earth at impossible speeds. The largest vessels were the size of small cities, while even the smallest could probably destroy anything humanity had ever built. 2 days out, General Harrison announced during the final defense briefing. "Every ship we have is in position. Every weapon system is armed. Every person who can fight is ready." Dr. Chen had one last surprise. "We've managed to build a quantum disruptor based on their transmission data. It's crude, and we only have one shot, but it might be able to interfere with their ship-to-ship communications." "Will it stop them?" the president asked. "No," Chen admitted, "but it might confuse them long enough for us to show them what humans are really capable of." President Martinez looked out at Earth from the orbital command station. The blue planet looked peaceful from space, but she knew that every person down there was watching the skies and waiting. "They think they know what we are," she said quietly. They've studied our history and decided we're too violent, too chaotic, too dangerous to be allowed to spread to the stars. Maybe they're right, but they've made one crucial mistake. What's that? General Harrison asked. She turned back to the tactical display showing the approaching alien fleet. They think those are weaknesses. They're about to learn they're actually our greatest strengths. The Galactic Council had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Their member species had long ago evolved beyond the need for warfare, preferring diplomatic solutions and peaceful expansion. They had contained dozens of aggressive species before, always through overwhelming force, followed by benevolent guidance. They expected humanity to follow the same pattern: shock, surrender, and eventual grateful acceptance of their protection. They had no idea what was coming. The enforcement fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system with all the confidence of predators approaching wounded prey. High Arbiter Veltar stood in the command chamber of the flagship, his crystalline body reflecting the light of Sol as he studied the primitive system before them. "Initial scans, Commander Zephys," he ordered, his voice creating harmonious tones that resonated through the living ship's neural networks. "The third planet shows signs of desperate preparation," came the reply from the ship's biomechanical interface. "Crude defensive positions around their orbital installations, several hundred small craft arrayed in what appears to be a defensive formation. Their weapons are quaint." Veltar felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: mild curiosity. Most species, when faced with the Galactic Council's might, either surrendered immediately or cowered in their cities waiting for the inevitable. These humans seem to be actually preparing to fight. "What do their communications tell us?" he asked. The ship's intelligence network pulsed with data analysis. "Encrypted military channels, but we have broken most of their codes. They are discussing something they call acceptable losses and contingency plans. Their mathematical models suggest they understand they cannot win, yet they continue preparing for combat." "Fascinating," Veltar mused. "Perhaps their species is simply too primitive to understand the futility of resistance." On the bridge of the human command ship, Terra's Defiance, Admiral Sarah Rodriguez watched the alien fleet approach with grim satisfaction. The aliens were moving exactly as Earth's strategists had hoped, in an organized formation that prioritized firepower over maneuverability. "They're beautiful," whispered Lieutenant Commander Park, staring at the bioluminescent patterns dancing across the alien hulls. "Like living artwork." "They're also predictable," Rodriguez replied. Dr. Chen's analysis was right. They fight like a military parade, all formation and no improvisation. "Signal all ships. Prepare for first contact protocols." The term first contact protocols would have confused any alien listening in. To most species, first contact meant careful diplomatic exchanges and cultural assessment. To humans preparing for a hopeless battle, it meant something entirely different. The first human ship to move was the cargo vessel New Horizon. Originally designed to transport mining equipment to the asteroid belt, it had been hastily converted into something else entirely. Instead of cargo, it now carried 3 nuclear warheads, a crew of 6 volunteers, and a message recorded by its captain. "My name is Captain Maria Santos," the message began, transmitted on all frequencies as the ship accelerated toward the alien fleet. "I have a wife and 2 daughters back on Earth. I'm 43 years old, and I teach Sunday school at my local church when I'm not hauling freight through space." The alien fleet slowed as they detected the approaching vessel. It was tiny compared to their ships, clearly no military threat. Several commanders suggested simply vaporizing it, but Veltar ordered them to hold fire. Perhaps this was an attempt at surrender. "I want you to understand something about humans," Captain Santos continued. "We're not special. We're not the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced species in the galaxy. But we have one thing that maybe you don't understand. When someone threatens our family, our home, our right to exist as free beings, we don't calculate odds or weigh options. We just fight. The New Horizon was now close enough that the aliens could see it clearly on their displays. It was obviously civilian in origin, held together with repair patches and determination. But it was accelerating beyond what its engines should have been capable of, and there was something wrong with its power readings. "We know we can't beat you in a fair fight," Santos said, his voice steady despite the G-forces crushing him into his pilot's seat. "So we're not going to fight fair. We're going to fight like humans." The New Horizon struck the lead alien ship at 40% of light speed. The explosion was visible from Earth. 3 nuclear warheads detonating simultaneously against an unshielded hull created a fireball that briefly outshone several stars. The alien ship, designed to withstand energy weapons and conventional projectiles, simply disintegrated. Its biomechanical hull had no defense against raw nuclear fire delivered at relativistic speeds. The shockwave alone damaged 3 other nearby ships. "What was that?" Veltar demanded, his harmonious voice cracking with something approaching panic. "How did such a primitive vessel cause such damage?" Analysis suggests they used their own crew member as a guidance system for a kinetic weapon delivery system, his ship's intelligence replied, its usual calm disturbed. "The vessel's pilot appears to have remained conscious and in control until impact." "They killed themselves? Deliberately?" "Affirmative. And High Arbiter. We are receiving similar energy signatures from 47 other human vessels. They appear to be accelerating toward our formation." For the first time in his long career, Veltar understood what it meant to feel fear. The next phase of the human attack was even more disturbing to the aliens. Instead of the coordinated assault they expected, human ships began attacking in seemingly random patterns. Some vessels would strafe the alien formation while broadcasting music, everything from Mozart to death metal. Others would approach, peacefully, then self-destruct without warning when they got close. Most unsettling of all were the human pilots, who seemed to treat the entire battle as a game. "This is Commander Jennifer Walsh in the fighter craft Mosquito," came one transmission, as a small human ship danced through alien defensive fire. "I've got 3 kills, and I'm going for the high score. Anyone else want to play?" The human ship, little more than a cockpit strapped to engines and weapons, shouldn't have been able to survive in the battle space, but its pilot flew it like she was insane, pulling maneuvers that would have killed most beings and somehow avoiding destruction through sheer unpredictability. "How are their pilots surviving those acceleration forces?" demanded Sub-Commander Thiss of the Kalari Collective. "They are not," came the analysis. "Medical scans show multiple human pilots are dying from the stress of their own maneuvers. They appear to be using stimulants and medical support systems to remain conscious long enough to complete their attacks. They are killing themselves. To fight us? In multiple ways, yes. Some are dying from acceleration forces. Others are deliberately ramming our ships. Several have detonated their own vessel's power cores rather than be captured. Their casualties are approaching 60%. And they keep fighting? They keep fighting. What truly unnerved the Galactic Council forces was not just the human willingness to die, but how they talked about it. Intercepted communications revealed pilots joking about their own deaths, making bets about who could take the most aliens with them, and saying goodbye to loved ones with casual comments like, "Tell Mom I'll see her for dinner in the next life." Commander Zethara of the energy-based Luminian species had to shut down her cognitive processes for several cycles just to process what she was witnessing. Her people valued individual consciousness above all else. The idea of deliberately ending one's existence was literally inconceivable to them. "High Arbiter," she pulsed through the fleet's communication network. "I am requesting permission to withdraw my ships from the engagement zone. My crew cannot function while observing this level of whatever this is." Veltar was having similar thoughts. The battle was going according to plan from a tactical standpoint. The human fleet was being systematically destroyed, their primitive weapons barely scratching the advanced alien hulls. But something was wrong with the entire engagement. The humans were losing, but they were losing on their own terms. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "we're detecting massive energy buildup from the third planet itself." The display showed Earth, now bristling with defensive installations, that had been hastily constructed over the past month. But these weren't weapons in any traditional sense. They appeared to be modified industrial equipment, mining lasers, fusion plants, even orbital construction equipment, all aimed at space. What are they planning? Veltar wondered. The answer came in the form of a transmission from Earth's surface. President Martinez appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet, somehow having hacked their communication systems. "High Arbiter." "Veltar," she said, looking directly into the camera with eyes that held no fear, only determination. "I hope you're enjoying your first taste of human hospitality, but this is just the opening act." Behind her, the display showed the modified, industrial equipment powering up. Mining lasers that had been redesigned to focus through orbital mirrors. Fusion plants ready to channel their entire output through hastily constructed particle accelerators. Magnetic rail systems that had been converted into mass drivers. "You wanted to see how dangerous humanity could be," Martinez continued. "You judged us based on our history of warfare and chaos. You decided we were too violent to be allowed among the stars. You were absolutely right." The first volley from Earth's surface was unlike anything in the Galactic Council's experience. It wasn't elegant or efficient. It was industrial grade. Violence applied with human ingenuity and complete disregard for safety margins. Modified mining lasers carved through space, their beams scattered and focused by orbital mirror arrays into patterns that confused alien targeting systems. Particle streams from overloaded fusion plants created radiation barriers that interfered with biomechanical ship functions. Mass drivers launched everything from refined metals to compressed garbage at significant fractions of light speed. "This is impossible," gasped Commander Thies. "How are they generating this much destructive power from civilian infrastructure?" "They appear to have converted their entire industrial base into weapons," his ship's intelligence reported. "Production, facilities, power plants, transportation systems. Everything has been modified for warfare. It is highly inefficient." "But is it effective?" Several alien ships were already showing damage from the barrage. Not because the weapons were particularly advanced, but because there were so many of them coming from so many different directions that the defensive systems couldn't keep up. "Effectiveness appears secondary to volume of fire," the intelligence observed. "They are using what you might call the shotgun approach. Launch everything possible and hope some of it hits." Veltar watched the displays with growing unease. This wasn't how warfare was supposed to work. Civilized species used precise weapons for specific targets. They calculated optimal strategies and minimized resource expenditure. They followed protocols and honored surrender when defeat became inevitable. Humans seemed to be making up the rules as they went along. "High Arbiter," came an urgent communication from the fleet's biological warfare specialist. "I am detecting unusual chemical signatures from the human vessels. They appear to be using recreational intoxicants." "What?" "Several human pilots are showing elevated levels of ethyl alcohol, caffeine, and various stimulants in their bloodstream. Some appear to be under the influence of substances that should impair their motor functions." Veltar's crystalline structure actually vibrated with disbelief. "They are fighting while intoxicated?" "It appears so, and they seem to be more effective while in this state. Their unpredictability has increased beyond our modeling parameters." That was when Veltar realized the true scope of his error. The Galactic Council had sent an enforcement fleet expecting to subdue a primitive but dangerous species. Instead, they had encountered something unprecedented in their 10,000 years of galactic dominance. They had found a species that didn't just reject defeat. They rejected the very concept of rational limitation. As he watched human fighters weave through space while their pilot sang drinking songs and compared notes on whose death would be most spectacular, Veltar began to understand that this engagement was not going to end the way anyone expected. The humans were losing the battle, but they were teaching the galaxy something new about the nature of warfare itself. The battle for Earth entered its third day, with a development that shocked the Galactic Council fleet. Reinforcements began arriving from the outer solar system. Not military reinforcements. Those had been destroyed in the first hours of fighting. Instead, civilian ships started appearing from mining colonies, research stations, and trading posts scattered throughout human space. Cargo haulers, scientific vessels, even luxury cruise ships that had been stripped down and fitted with whatever weapons their crews could manage. This is the passenger liner Star of Mumbai, requesting permission to join the defense fleet. Came one transmission, as a vessel designed to carry tourists between Earth and Mars took position alongside military destroyers. We've got 300 passengers aboard who voted unanimously to fight. Our head chef has figured out how to turn the food replicators into projectile weapons. Admiral Rodriguez watched the unlikely fleet assembling around Earth with a mixture of pride and heartbreak. These people had no military training and no chance of survival, but they kept coming anyway. "Admiral," reported her communications officer, "we're getting similar transmissions from 17 other civilian vessels, a mining barge, 2 research ships, even a maintenance pod from the outer station. They all want to fight." "Let them," Rodriguez said quietly. "If we're going to lose this war, at least we'll lose it as humans." The alien fleet had been systematically destroying Earth's defenses for 3 days, but something strange was happening to their crews. Reports of what the human commanders called psychological casualties were mounting across the Galactic Council ships. "Sub-Commander Theiss, I must be relieved of duty," announced one of the Kalari Collective's tactical specialists. "I can no longer process the human behavior patterns. My cognitive functions are becoming compromised." This was unprecedented. The Kalari were a hive-mind species. Individual members weren't supposed to be capable of psychological breakdown. Yet across the fleet, similar reports were coming in from every species involved in the assault. The Luminian energy beings reported that their consciousness matrices were flickering when they observed human tactics. The crystalline Zephyrians complained of harmonic disruption in their thought processes. Even the mechanical nexus units were experiencing what they described as logic cascade failures. High Arbiter Veltar was beginning to understand why. "Show me the latest human transmission," he ordered. The display showed a human pilot named Rodriguez, not the Admiral, but a fighter pilot who had lost both legs when his cockpit was breached by alien weapons. Instead of withdrawing for medical treatment, he had sealed the breach with emergency foam and continued fighting. "This is Lieutenant Carlos Rodriguez, in fighter designation Stubborn Bastard," the pilot announced cheerfully as his crippled ship limped toward an alien cruiser. "I've got no legs, no life support, and about 30 seconds of consciousness left, but I've still got 1 torpedo and a really bad attitude. Let's see how this works out." The human ship struck the alien vessel at the exact moment its pilot lost consciousness from blood loss. The explosion damaged the cruiser's main weapon array and killed a pilot who had been dead for several seconds before impact. "This is what is breaking our crew's minds," Veltar realized. "They cannot understand beings who fight past the point of death itself." The humans seemed to have weaponized their own mortality. Every pilot who died became a lesson in the futility of trying to intimidate a species that treated death as just another tactical option. But the real shock came when Earth's industrial base began its second phase of conversion. Dr. Chen had spent the 3 days of battle working around the clock in a converted subway tunnel beneath Geneva. Her team of scientists and engineers had been tasked with what everyone agreed was an impossible mission: reverse engineer alien technology while the battle raged overhead. "We've got samples," announced Dr. Petrov, holding up twisted metal and biological material recovered from alien ship debris. Some kind of biomechanical neural interface. If we can figure out how it works, we can disrupt their entire fleet. Communication system, Chen finished. How long do we need? With conventional research methods, years, maybe decades. We don't have decades. We don't even have days. That was when someone suggested the approach that would later be known as human-style engineering throughout the galaxy. What if we don't try to understand it? Asked Dr. Kim, a cybernetics specialist from Seoul. What if we just break it in interesting ways? The concept was alien to scientific method as practiced by every other species in the galaxy. The normal approach was to study, understand, then carefully implement new technology. Humans, faced with extinction and a 3-day deadline, decided to skip the first 2 steps. We'll call it aggressive reverse engineering, Chen announced. Take apart alien technology, figure out what makes it tick, then break it harder than it was designed. To be broken. What followed was 48 hours of scientific chaos that would have horrified any civilized researcher. Human scientists took alien neural interfaces apart with everything from surgical lasers to household hammers. They subjected biomechanical components to electrical fields, chemical baths, and in one memorable case, exposure to classical music at maximum volume. The neural pathways in this thing respond to Bach, reported one technician. Specifically, they seem to get confused by complex mathematical patterns in the music. Confused how? They start trying to process the music as tactical data. If we broadcast the right frequency patterns, we might be able to overload their ship communication systems. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't scientific. It was barely controlled chaos with a PhD in engineering. It worked perfectly. The human counterstrike began with something the Galactic Council had never encountered: weaponized art. All alien vessels, came a transmission from Earth. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Research Division. We'd like to share some of our cultural achievements with you. The broadcast that followed would have been beautiful under other circumstances. Bach's Goldberg Variations, performed by the London Symphony Orchestra, transmitted on the exact frequencies that the alien bioships used for internal communication. The effect on the Galactic Council fleet was immediate and catastrophic. "High Arbiter," gasped Commander Zephys. "Our neural networks are experiencing cascade failures. The bioships are trying to process the transmission as tactical data." Across the fleet, alien vessels began to malfunction as their organic components became confused by the mathematical complexity of human classical music. Ships designed to think and fight as living beings suddenly found themselves trying to understand art, emotion, and creative expression. Some ships simply shut down. Others began flying in patterns that matched the music's rhythm. A few actually started trying to harmonize with the broadcast, their weapon systems reconfiguring themselves into musical instruments. "This is impossible," Veltar declared. "How are they disrupting our most advanced biotechnology with music? Analysis suggests their music contains mathematical patterns that our bio-neural systems interpret as commands," his ship's intelligence reported, its usually calm voice distorted by static. "The patterns are too complex for our organic processors to ignore, but too abstract for them to execute. It is creating feedback loops in our command structure." The humans weren't finished. As the alien fleet struggled to deal with the musical attack, Earth's orbital platforms began the most audacious engineering project in human history. Using salvaged alien technology and complete disregard for safety protocols, human engineers began constructing what they called kinetic telephone poles. The name was typically human, informal, descriptive, and completely unhelpful to anyone trying to understand what they were actually building. The devices were essentially massive electromagnetic railguns designed to launch anything from refined uranium slugs to compressed garbage at significant fractions of light speed. "The aliens expect us to fight with energy weapons and guided missiles," explained General Harrison during a briefing broadcast to every human military unit. Those are expensive, complicated, and require advanced technology we don't have. But accelerating chunks of metal to ridiculous speeds? That's just industrial engineering. The first test firing of a kinetic telephone pole sent a steel rod the size of a telephone pole through 3 alien ships before disappearing into deep space. The rod itself cost about $50 in raw materials. The damage it caused was worth several billion credits in Galactic Council military hardware. "They are launching garbage at us," reported one alien tactical officer, disbelief evident even through the translation matrix. "Literally, one projectile appears to be compressed. Domestic waste materials. Is it effective? It punched through our hull armor and disabled our main power core. Compressed garbage disabled our main power core." Compressed garbage launched at 40% of light speed, yes. The kinetic telephone poles were just the beginning. Human engineers, freed from the constraints of conventional thinking by their species' impending extinction, began building weapons that defied every principle of civilized warfare. They turned asteroid mining charges into space mines. They converted communications satellites into automated gunships. They even weaponized their own space debris using magnetic fields to accelerate the junk that had been accumulating in Earth, orbit for decades into a cloud of high-velocity projectiles. "Sir," reported the tactical officer aboard Veltar's flagship, "the humans appear to have turned their own orbital garbage into a defensive barrier." "Explain." "They are using electromagnetic fields to accelerate space debris. Old satellites, discarded equipment, even what appears to be sewage from their space stations, into ballistic trajectories that create a defensive grid around their planet." Veltar stared at the tactical display showing thousands of pieces of human junk now moving at velocities that made them more dangerous than military-grade weapons. "They turned their trash into a minefield?" "An effective minefield, High Arbiter. We've lost 2 escort vessels to what analysis suggests was a discarded food container moving at 37% of light speed. The Galactic Council fleet, designed to fight civilized enemies with predictable tactics, found itself completely unable to adapt to human warfare. Every time they developed a counter to one human strategy, the humans would switch to something else entirely. When the aliens adapted to kinetic weapons, humans started using biological warfare, not diseases, but rather broadcasting recordings of Earth wildlife at frequencies that confused alien bioships. The sound of wolves howling apparently caused the organic components of several ships to attempt pack-hunting behaviors, which turned their weapon systems against each other. When the aliens shielded against biological interference, humans began what they called psychological operations, broadcasting everything from stand-up comedy to political speeches that caused alien crews to experience what their computers described as cognitive dissonance events. "High Arbiter," reported the fleet's chief medical officer, "I am recommending immediate withdrawal from the engagement zone." "On what grounds?" "The humans appear to be using warfare methods that are actively harmful to mental health. Several of our crew members are requesting reassignment to different universes." Veltar looked at the battle display. His fleet still outnumbered the humans 10-1. His technology was still far superior. By every logical measure, the Galactic Council was winning the battle. So why did it feel like they were losing the war? The turning point came when the humans did something that no species in galactic history had ever attempted. They stole an entire alien ship. It happened during the 4th day of battle, when a damaged Kolari biocruiser drifted too close to Earth's orbital defenses. Instead of destroying the vessel, a team of human engineers in improvised spacesuits swarmed over its hull like ants on a fallen piece of fruit. "This is Chief Engineer Murphy reporting from the alien vessel," came the transmission as the humans cut through the ship's outer hull with industrial plasma torches. "We're inside some kind of living spaceship. The walls are squishy, it smells like vanilla, and there's something that might be a brain the size of a small building. We're gonna try to make friends with it." What followed was perhaps the most bizarre first contact scenario in galactic history. While the battle raged around them, a team of human mechanics began attempting to communicate with a biomechanical alien ship using a combination of hand gestures, mathematical formulas drawn in marker pen, and offerings of coffee from their thermos. "The ship seems lonely," reported Murphy after 6 hours of what could generously be called interspecies therapy. "I think its crew abandoned it when it got damaged. It's been trying to return to the fleet, but its navigation system is confused. We're going to see if we can help." "Chief Murphy," came Admiral Rodriguez's voice over the comm. "Are you suggesting we repair an enemy vessel?" "Ma'am, I'm suggesting we adopt it." The concept of adopting enemy equipment during battle was not uncommon in human military history, but doing it with a living alien ship was something new even for humanity. Nevertheless, within 12 hours, the biocruiser had been given a human name, Fluffy, a human crew, and a human mission. "This is the Earth defense ship Fluffy requesting permission to rejoin the battle," came Murphy's cheerful voice as the alien vessel, now flying in formation with human ships, moved back toward the conflict zone. "We've figured out how to make its weapons work, and it really wants to help defend Earth. I think it likes us." The sight of one of their own vessels fighting alongside human ships was more psychologically damaging to the Galactic Council fleet than the loss of dozens of ships. To human tactics, it suggested something that their strategic planning had never considered: the possibility that their own technology might choose to side with the humans. Analysis suggests the bioship has been convinced to switch allegiances, reported the Fleet Intelligence Network. The humans appear to have used primitive psychological techniques to establish an emotional bond with the vessel's organic components. "They made friends with a warship?" demanded High Arbiter Veltar. "It appears so, High Arbiter. They are also broadcasting instructional videos on alien ship care and maintenance to our other vessels, suggesting that any damaged bioships can receive medical attention and good homes if they surrender to human forces." Several more damaged alien ships began broadcasting surrender requests. This development forced the Galactic Council to confront an uncomfortable truth. Their biomechanical technology, designed to be loyal and efficient, was apparently vulnerable to human concepts of kindness, friendship, and what humans called pet adoption procedures. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, Dr. Chen's team had achieved something that would have been impossible under normal circumstances. They had successfully reverse-engineered faster-than-light communication technology in less than a week. "We don't really understand how it works," Chen admitted to President Martinez during an emergency briefing. "But we know how to break it, how to copy it, and how to use it to send really annoying messages to other star systems." "How annoying?" Martinez asked. "Well, we've been broadcasting human television shows to every inhabited system within 50 light years. Comedy shows, reality TV, soap operas, cooking programs, and something called Earth's Funniest Home Videos. The responses we're getting suggest that alien civilizations are confused by our entertainment industry." The responses were more than confused. They were panicked. Within days of receiving human television broadcasts, dozens of alien worlds began sending urgent messages to the Galactic Council, demanding to know what was happening in the Sol system. The transmissions varied by species, but the general theme was consistent. The humans were broadcasting something so bizarre and incomprehensible that entire alien civilizations were having trouble processing it. "They have shows about humans competing to eat large quantities of food," reported one alien cultural analyst. "The participants seem to enjoy this activity, but there is no clear survival benefit. It is possible this is some form of religious ritual." Another program shows humans living together in artificial environments and creating interpersonal conflicts for the entertainment of other humans, added another report. The broadcast includes audience members who emit rhythmic vocalizations. In apparent approval of these conflicts, We cannot determine if this is documentation of actual human behavior or fictional simulation. High Arbiter, came an urgent communication from the Zephyrian home world. Please clarify. Do humans actually keep smaller Earth species as companions and create affectionate bonds with them? One of their broadcasts suggests they share sleeping, areas with creatures called cats and dogs, and express emotional attachment to these beings. If so, this represents a level of interspecies cooperation that our xenobiologists cannot explain. The television broadcasts were having an effect that no one had anticipated. Instead of demonstrating human aggression and chaos, they were showing alien civilizations, a species that formed emotional bonds with everything from animals to household objects, created entertainment based on kindness and cooperation, and found joy in the most mundane activities. They have a program called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, reported one stunned alien analyst, in which an adult human speaks directly to younger humans about concepts such as friendship, kindness, and emotional growth. The adult demonstrates patience, empathy, and genuine care for the well-being of others. This is not consistent with our assessment of humans as a dangerous, chaotic species. The broadcasts began to raise uncomfortable questions throughout the Galactic Council. If humans were truly as violent and unpredictable as their military assessment suggested, why did their entertainment focus so heavily on cooperation, love, and community? The answer came when human ships began broadcasting something even more disturbing than television shows. They started sharing their history. "Attention, Galactic Council Fleet," came a transmission from Admiral Rodriguez. "We know you've judged us based on our wars and conflicts. We want you to understand the full context." What followed was a comprehensive broadcast of human history, but not the sanitized version that most species would have shared. Humans included everything: their wars, their genocides, their failures and tragedies. But they also included the stories of humans who fought against injustice, who sacrificed themselves for others, and who built something better from the ruins of their mistakes. They told the aliens about World War II, but they also told them about the Holocaust survivors who dedicated their lives to preventing future genocides. They described the atomic bombs, but they also described the scientists who spent their careers working for nuclear disarmament. They admitted to slavery, but they also celebrated the humans who died fighting to end it. "You see us as dangerous," Rodriguez continued, "because you only looked at our capacity for violence. But violence was never the point. The point was what we were fighting for." The broadcast included something that shocked alien observers: humans taking responsibility for their own mistakes and working to fix them. No other species in Galactic Council records had ever voluntarily admitted to their own failures while actively working to correct them. "This is unprecedented," reported the Council's chief cultural analyst. "Most species, when contacted by the Council, attempt to present themselves as peaceful and advanced. The humans are deliberately showing us their worst moments alongside their best ones. Why would they do this? Analysis suggests they want us to understand that their capacity for violence exists alongside their capacity for growth, redemption, and sacrifice for others. They appear to view these as inseparable aspects of their species." The most disturbing part of the human historical broadcast was what it revealed about their motivations. The aliens had assumed that human resistance was based on pride or territorial instinct. Instead, they discovered that humans were fighting for an abstract concept they called freedom, not just for themselves, but for the right of their species to make its own mistakes and learn from them. "They are willing to die for the right to be wrong," observed one alien philosopher. "This is a concept we have no framework for understanding." As the battle entered its 5th day, the Galactic Council faced a strategic problem they had never encountered. They were winning every engagement while simultaneously losing the larger conflict. Their superior technology was destroying human ships as planned, but each victory seemed to make the humans more determined rather than less. Worse, The human tactics were evolving faster than Council forces could adapt. Every strategy the aliens developed was countered within hours by some new human innovation that defied conventional military thinking. They have begun using their own destroyed vessels as weapons, reported the Tactical Analysis Division. Debris from human ships is being guided into collision courses with our vessels through methods we cannot identify. Remote control systems? Negative. The debris appears to be guided by human crew members who remained aboard their ships after catastrophic damage. They are steering their own wreckage into our formation. High Arbiter Veltar stared at the report with something approaching horror. The humans were turning their own deaths into tactical advantages. Dead human pilots were successfully completing missions that living pilots couldn't survive. But the most shocking development came when the humans began their final gambit. Instead of trying to win the battle, they started trying to take the war to the aliens' home systems. High Arbiter, came an urgent communication from the council chambers on the Zephyrian homeworld. We have detected human vessels approaching our outer colonies. How did they achieve faster-than-light travel? Veltar felt his crystalline structure resonate with disbelief. That's impossible. Our intelligence confirms they do not possess FTL technology. Sir, we appear to have been mistaken about that. The humans had done something that violated every principle of technological development. They had skipped centuries of research and development by studying captured alien technology for exactly 6 days, then built their own faster than light. Ships using nothing but determination and what they called aggressive engineering. The ships were crude, dangerous, and barely functional. They had a 50% failure rate and would probably kill their crews even if they worked perfectly. But they worked well enough to carry human volunteers to the stars with a simple message for the galaxy. This is Captain Sarah Kim of the Earth ship Defiant Gesture, came a transmission from the edge of Zephyrian space. We're here to discuss terms. What terms? Demanded the Zephyrian High Council. You wanted to contain humanity to prevent us from spreading chaos through the galaxy. We're here to offer you a counter-proposal. Leave Earth alone, and we'll consider not spreading chaos through the galaxy. The implications were clear. Humanity had demonstrated that they could build interstellar ships, that they were willing to sacrifice their lives for abstract principles, and that they viewed mutual destruction as an acceptable outcome. If the Galactic Council continued their attack on Earth, humans would ensure that every world in the galaxy shared Earth's fate. They are threatening mutual annihilation, observed the Council's strategic planning computer. Not just of Earth, but of galactic civilization itself. Can they carry out such a threat? Analysis suggests yes. Human psychological profiles indicate they are willing to accept species extinction rather than subjugation. Their technological adaptability suggests they will continue to develop more dangerous capabilities regardless of the cost. Their demonstrated tactics suggest they will use those capabilities without regard for conventional strategic limitations. High Arbiter Veltar finally understood what the Galactic Council had encountered in the Sol system. They had not found a primitive species that needed to be contained. They had found a species that would rather drag the galaxy into chaos than accept containment. The humans had weaponized their own extinction. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in a state of panic that had not been seen in 10,000 years of galactic governance. Representatives from 12 major civilizations gathered in the crystal chambers of the Zephyrian home world, their forms flickering with anxiety as they processed the reports coming in from across the galaxy. The humans have reached 14 star systems, announced the Kalari collective representative, its unified voice carrying harmonics of distress. They are broadcasting what they call cultural exchange programs to every inhabited world they encounter. What kind of cultural exchange? Asked the Luminian energy being that served as the council's secretary. They are teaching other species human concepts, music, art, literature, and something called the concept of individual rights. Several primitive civilizations have already begun questioning their own governmental systems after exposure to human philosophy. High Arbiter Veltar materialized in the center of the chamber, his crystalline form reflecting the emergency lighting in patterns that indicated extreme stress. He had returned from the Sol system after witnessing something that had shaken his understanding of warfare, diplomacy, and civilization itself. The humans must be contained, he announced without preamble, but not in the way we originally planned. Explain, demanded the mechanical representative of the Nexus Collective. They cannot be defeated through conventional warfare. Their response to military pressure is to become more dangerous, not less. When we destroyed their ships, they built new ones from the wreckage. When we damaged their planet's defenses, they turned their entire civilization into a weapon. When we threatened their existence, they threatened ours. The chamber fell silent as the council processed this assessment. For 10 millennia, they had maintained galactic order through overwhelming force applied precisely and efficiently. No species had ever responded to council pressure by becoming more threatening. "What are you proposing?" asked the Zephyrian elder. "Complete withdrawal," Veltar replied, his harmonic voice carrying frequencies that indicated finality. "We evacuate all council forces from human space, establish a quarantine zone around their system, and hope they remain contained by choice rather than force." The reaction was immediate and negative. "Impossible," pulsed the Luminian representative. "The council has never retreated from an engagement. Our authority depends on the certainty of our power." "Then perhaps," Veltar responded, "our authority needs to be reconsidered." He activated a holographic display showing the current state of the Sol system. Earth was surrounded by a debris field that had once been the most powerful fleet the Galactic Council had ever assembled. Human ships, crude, dangerous, and held together with what appeared to be industrial adhesive and pure determination, patrolled the wreckage like scavengers claiming a battlefield. "Look at what they built," Veltar continued. "We came to them with technology thousands of years ahead of theirs, and they adapted to it in days. We brought biomechanical ships that were supposed to be impossible to capture, and they made friends with them. We tried to demonstrate our overwhelming power, and they responded by threatening to spread their chaos to every world in the galaxy. The display shifted to show human ships arriving at various alien colonies. The vessels were barely functional. Their crews were dying from radiation exposure and structural failures, but they kept coming anyway. These ships shouldn't be able to fly," observed the Nexus representative. "Their faster-than-light drives are crude modifications of our own technology. The failure rate should be fatal." "It is fatal," Veltar confirmed. "Most of the human crews die before reaching their destinations, but enough survive to deliver their message, and more ships keep launching from Earth despite the casualties." "What message are they delivering?" The display showed a recording from one of the human diplomatic missions. Captain Maria Gonzalez, her body failing from radiation poisoning, addressed the leadership of a minor alien civilization with words that had already begun spreading across the galaxy. "We're not here to conquer you," she said, her voice weak, but determined. "We're here to offer you something the Galactic Council never has. A choice. You can continue following their rules, or you can join us in making your own." The impact of this message was becoming clear across the galaxy. Species that had accepted council authority for millennia were beginning to ask uncomfortable questions about their own autonomy. Some were even beginning to demand representation in galactic governance rather than simple obedience to council decisions. "They are offering rebellion," realized the Kalari representative. "Not through violence, but through the introduction of concepts we have kept contained for thousands of years. Individual rights," agreed Veltar. "Democratic representation. The idea that species should determine their own fate rather than accept the guidance of superior civilizations. They are spreading ideological contagion." The mechanical Nexus representative processed this information for several cycles before responding. Analysis suggests that human concepts, once introduced to a population, become self-propagating. Species exposed to ideas about individual rights and self-determination begin generating additional questions about authority and governance. The effect cascades through social structures. You're saying their ideas are viral? Precisely. And unlike biological viruses, ideological viruses cannot be cured through medical intervention. They can only be countered through isolation or competing ideas of greater appeal. The Luminian secretary flickered with what might have been concern. Do we possess ideological concepts of greater appeal than human notions of freedom and self-determination? The silence that followed was answer enough. This is why we must withdraw, Veltar continued. Not because we cannot defeat them militarily, but because military victory would be meaningless. Every human ship we destroy carries volunteers who chose to die rather than accept subjugation. Every human colony we occupy becomes a symbol of resistance that inspires other species to question our authority. Every human we kill becomes a martyr for concepts we cannot counter through force. The council chamber erupted in harmonics of dissent and concern as representatives struggled to process the unprecedented situation. Never before had they encountered a species that could weaponize its own defeat. There must be alternatives, insisted the Zephyrian elder. Complete containment, systematic elimination of human spacefaring capability, relocation of the entire species to isolated worlds. We tried containment, Veltar replied. They broke out using technology they learned from studying our own ships. We could attempt genocide, but the process would require decades and would demonstrate to every species in the galaxy that the Council maintains order through extermination rather than guidance. How long do you think our authority would survive that revelation? The implications were staggering. The Galactic Council had maintained order for 10,000 years by presenting themselves as benevolent guides who used force only when necessary to protect galactic stability. If they responded to human resistance with systematic extermination, they would reveal themselves as tyrants who destroyed any species that refused to accept their rule. The humans have created what they call a no-win scenario, Veltar explained. If we destroy them, we become the monsters they claim we are. If we leave them alone, they spread ideas that undermine our authority. If we attempt to contain them, they respond by becoming more dangerous and more inspiring to other species. So, what do you recommend? Asked the Kalari representative. We adapt, Veltar said simply. We acknowledge that the galaxy has changed, and that our methods of governance must change with it. We open diplomatic channels with humanity and begin treating them as equals rather than subjects. The suggestion created chaos in the council chamber. Harmonics of outrage, disbelief, and panic filled the crystalline space as representatives struggled to comprehend the idea of treating a primitive species as diplomatic equals. Impossible, declared the Nexus representative. Our authority is based on technological and cultural superiority. If we acknowledge humans as equals, despite their primitive development, we establish a precedent that any species can demand equal status regardless of their advancement level. Perhaps, Veltar replied, that precedent is overdue. The debate that followed lasted 3 days and covered philosophical ground that the Council had not explored in millennia. The fundamental question was whether galactic civilization should be based on hierarchy determined by technological advancement or on principles that recognized the inherent rights of all sapient species regardless of their development level. In the end, it was the humans themselves who forced the decision. On the 3rd day of the Council's debate, every communication system in the galaxy received the same transmission simultaneously. President Martinez appeared on screens across hundreds of worlds, her image broadcast through hijacked council communication networks. Citizens of the galaxy, she began, her voice reaching billions of beings who had never before heard a direct message from a planetary leader. You are being governed by beings who believe they have the right to determine your fate without your consent. They have told you this is for your own protection, for the stability of galactic civilization, for the greater good. The transmission showed images of Earth's devastated orbital defenses, the wreckage of human ships, and the faces of the humans who had died defending their world. We fought them not because we wanted war, but because we wanted choice. The choice to make our own mistakes, to learn from our own failures, and to determine our own future. That choice belongs to every thinking being in the galaxy, not just to those with the most advanced technology. The message continued with something unprecedented in galactic history. A direct appeal to individual beings across hundreds of worlds to consider their own relationship with the authority that governed them. Ask yourselves, Martinez said, when was the last time you were asked what you wanted your civilization to become? When did you last have a voice in the decisions that shape your world? If your leaders truly serve your interests, why have they never asked you what those interests are? The transmission ended with coordinates for a communication frequency that humans promised to monitor, inviting any being in the galaxy who wanted to discuss alternatives to the current system to make contact. Within hours, the frequency was overwhelmed with responses from across the galaxy. Individuals from dozens of species, many of whom had never considered questioning their governmental systems, began asking the kinds of questions that the Galactic Council had spent millennia preventing. The damage is done, Veltar announced to the Emergency Council session. Regardless of what we decide here, the humans have successfully introduced concepts of individual rights and democratic representation to the galactic population. We can either adapt to this new reality or watch our authority collapse as species after species begins demanding self-determination. The final vote was not even close. Faced with the choice between evolution and extinction, the Galactic Council chose to survive in a changed galaxy rather than maintain their authority in a dead one. The withdrawal from human space began immediately. Council ships departed the Sol system without ceremony, their crews silent as they passed the wreckage of what had once been the most powerful fleet in galactic history. Behind them, human vessels began the process of salvaging alien technology and preparing for a future that none of them had expected to see. But the real change was happening across the galaxy, where billions of beings had heard a message that could never be unheard, the idea that they had the right to determine their own fate. The Galactic Council chambers fell silent, their debates concluded, and their representatives departed to explain to their home worlds why the galaxy would never be the same again. In the empty crystalline halls, only automated systems remained to monitor the cascade of communications flowing between worlds as species after species began to imagine what self-governance might look like. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had given it something far more dangerous, the idea that conquest was unnecessary when beings could choose their own path through the stars. The silence that followed was not the silence of defeat, but the quiet moment before a new age began.
Jack Mason wiped the sweat from his forehead as he guided his small salvage ship through the debris field. All around him floated the remains of forgotten battles and abandoned vessels, a graveyard of metal and memories. This was where he belonged. This was where he thrived. Just another day in paradise, he muttered to himself, his eyes scanning the sensor readings for anything valuable. Jack was known in the few human outposts as the Collector, a title he hadn't chosen but had learned to embrace. For 15 years, he had made his living by finding what others had thrown away or lost, fixing it, and selling it to those who couldn't afford new equipment. It wasn't glamorous work, but it kept him free. And freedom was something increasingly rare for humans. The Galactic Confederation, a union of 12 advanced alien species, had discovered Earth 60 years ago. Initially, they had presented themselves as benevolent guides, offering to help humanity join the galactic community. But their true intentions became clear soon enough. Humans were quarantined to their solar system and a few nearby colonies, allowed only the most basic interstellar technology, and treated as little more than clever animals by most Confederation species. Jack was one of the few humans who lived outside those boundaries, surviving in the gaps of the Confederation's attention. His salvage license was technically legal, but the areas he worked were often in gray zones, places where the rules blurred and enforcement was spotty. His scanner beeped, drawing his attention to a section of debris he hadn't explored before. Something was giving off a faint energy signature, barely detectable even with his modified equipment. "Well, hello there," Jack said, steering his ship toward the reading. "What are you hiding?" As he approached, he saw nothing but twisted metal and shattered hull fragments. But Jack had learned long ago that appearances in space could be deceiving. He suited up, checked his oxygen levels, and prepared for a spacewalk. Outside his ship, tethered by a safety line, Jack moved with the practiced ease of someone who had spent more time in zero gravity than planetside. He pushed off gently from handhold to handhold, making his way toward the energy signature. The source turned out to be buried under a massive section of what looked like an engine housing. Whatever ship this had come from, it had been enormous, far larger than anything humans were permitted to build. Jack used his suit's small thrusters to circle the debris, looking for a way in. "There you are," he whispered, spotting a gap just wide enough for him to squeeze through. Inside the twisted metal cocoon, Jack's headlamp illuminated something that made his breath catch. It wasn't just engine parts or salvageable tech. It was the partial hull of an ancient battleship, its design unlike anything in current Confederation fleets. The metal was dark and patterned with symbols he didn't recognize, and despite being broken and battered, it had an elegance to it that spoke of highly advanced engineering. Jack's scanner showed the energy signature coming from deeper within the wreckage. He moved carefully, aware that even dead ships could be dangerous, especially ones of unknown origin. In what must have been a command center, Jack found the source, a small hexagonal device no bigger than his hand, pulsing with a soft blue light. It was intact, seemingly undamaged, despite the destruction all around it. "Now what are you?" Jack murmured, carefully detaching the device from its housing. As soon as he touched it, the blue pulsing increased in speed, and Jack felt a strange sensation, as if the device was scanning him. Then, just as suddenly, it went dormant. Jack's instincts told him he had found something significant. Not just valuable in the usual sense, but important. He secured the device in his collection bag and continued exploring the wreckage. Over the next 4 hours, Jack discovered more intact components. Damaged but salvageable weapon mounts, pieces of what might be a navigation system, and most excitingly, a mostly intact shield generator of a design far more advanced than what the Confederation used publicly. The ship had been massive once, and ancient. Carbon dating on his scanner suggested the wreckage was at least 50,000 years old, predating the Confederation itself. This belonged to a civilization that had risen and fallen before humans had even established their first cities on Earth. Jack's heart raced with possibilities. With enough time and the right additional parts, he could potentially piece together something from this ancient technology. Something that wasn't on the Confederation's restricted list because they didn't even know it existed. As he was preparing to return to his ship with his findings, Jack's warning system buzzed. A Confederation patrol vessel was approaching the debris field. If they caught him with this technology, the best he could hope for was life imprisonment. More likely, he would simply disappear. Jack worked quickly, using a camouflage net designed to mask energy signatures to cover the most obvious parts of the wreckage. He couldn't hide it all, but he could make it look like ordinary debris to a passing scan. Then he retreated to his ship, powered down all but the most essential systems, and drifted, hoping to blend in with the surrounding debris. Through his viewport, he watched the sleek Confederation patrol ship glide through the field, its scanning beams sweeping methodically through the wreckage. A tense hour passed before the patrol moved on, apparently finding nothing of interest. Jack let out the breath he had been holding and began planning. He couldn't move all the wreckage at once, but he could return with larger equipment. He marked the location on his private charts with a simple code that would mean nothing to anyone else: Phoenix Nest. Over the next few weeks, Jack made several cautious trips back to the site, each time taking only what he could safely transport and hide. He established a base in an abandoned mining facility buried deep in a large asteroid on the edge of a system the Confederation considered worthless. There, piece by piece, he began to assemble his find. The hexagonal device turned out to be a key of sorts. When connected to power, it projected schematics, holographic blueprints of the original vessel. Jack couldn't read the language, but he could follow the diagrams, seeing how the pieces fit together. It would take years to gather all the parts he needed, and he would have to improvise with technology from a dozen different sources to replace what was missing. But for the first time since the Confederation had confined humanity to their cosmic corner, Jack felt something long forgotten: hope. Looking at the slowly growing collection of alien technology in his hidden workshop, Jack allowed himself a rare smile. Someday, he promised the silent components, you'll fly again. And when you do, the Confederation will learn that humans are more than they bargained for. Outside, the stars continued their silent watch, indifferent to the ambitions of the small human working among the shadows. But in time, even they would bear witness to what was coming: a ship made from scrap that would become the galaxy's biggest threat. 3 years passed like a slow-burning star. In his hidden asteroid facility, Jack Mason worked with relentless determination, turning his discovery from dream into reality. The abandoned mining tunnels had become his sanctuary, expanding over time into a makeshift shipyard large enough to hold his growing creation. "Hand me the fusion coupler," Jack called out, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. Mac Jenkins, a burly man with a scared face and hands steady as bedrock, passed the tool without looking up from his own work. "This weapon mount is almost ready," he said. "Never seen anything like it. Could probably cut a Confederation cruiser in half." Jack nodded appreciatively. Finding Mac had been a stroke of luck. The former weapons specialist had been serving a life sentence in a Confederation prison camp for the crime of unauthorized weapons research. Jack had freed him during a supply raid 18 months ago, and Mac had pledged his expertise to the project ever since. "Anna, how's the navigation system coming along?" Jack called to another corner of the facility. Anna Rice, her slim figure bent over a console, gave a thumbs up. Integrated the salvaged Confederation star charts with the ancient system. It's like they were made for each other. Anna had been a pilot for the human resistance, shot down and left for dead near Jupiter's moons. Jack had found her drifting in an escape pod, nearly out of oxygen. "The power couplings in Section 3 are stable," came another voice from beneath the hull. Rex Donovan, with his wild gray hair and oil-stained coveralls, rolled out from under the massive structure. A mechanical genius who could fix anything with moving parts, Rex had joined the project after Confederation forces destroyed his repair shop on Mars Colony, claiming he was violating technology restrictions. From a platform above them all, Davis Morgan monitored the operation. The former military strategist had a calm demeanor that hid a brilliant tactical mind. He had been working as a janitor in a Confederation outpost, hiding his true identity, when Jack recruited him. "Forward shield generators are showing a 200% increase over our initial estimates," Davis reported. "If these readings are correct, this ship could withstand direct hits from a Confederation dreadnought." Together, they formed an unlikely crew, outcasts and rebels united by a common purpose. The ship they were building, piece by salvaged piece, represented more than just a vessel. It was humanity's chance to break free from the chains the Confederation had placed on them. The Phoenix, as Jack had named it, was taking shape. Its hull was a patchwork of different metals and alloys, some from the original ancient vessel, others salvaged from various wrecks. Its systems were a hybrid of technologies spanning millennia and species, integrated in ways their original designers never imagined. "We're breaking every rule in the book," Rex often said with a grin. Mixing technologies like this should be impossible. But Jack had discovered something extraordinary about human minds. They weren't bound by the same rigid thinking patterns as many Confederation species. Where others saw incompatible systems, humans saw possibilities for connection. The Phoenix's greatest strength was its irregular design, impossible to predict or counter using standard Confederation tactics. Late one night, when the others had retired to their quarters, Jack stood alone in the main chamber, staring up at the nearly completed ship. Its dark hull absorbed the light, making it seem like a hole in reality rather than a physical object. Only the occasional gleam of metal or flicker of an activated system revealed its true nature. Almost there, he whispered to himself. The last major component, the ancient power cord he discovered in the original wreckage, still lay on a workbench nearby. Despite years of study, Jack and his crew hadn't fully deciphered its technology. It utilized an energy source unknown to the Confederation, something that seemed to draw power from subspace itself, creating energy without apparent fuel or waste. Integrating it would be their final and most dangerous step. The next morning, the crew gathered around the power core, each face showing a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Once we connect this, Jack explained, there's no going back. If it works, the Phoenix will have more power than any ship its size in the galaxy. If it doesn't, he left the possibility unspoken. We've come too far to turn back now, Anna said firmly. Davis nodded. The risk is acceptable given the potential strategic advantage. Let's light this candle, Rex added with a grin. Max simply gave a thumbs up, his usual response to any challenge. Together, they moved the power core into position at the heart of the ship. Jack had designed a special chamber for it, surrounded by containment fields based on multiple technologies. As they secured the final connections, the ancient device began to pulse with the same blue light Jack had seen when he first discovered it. Power levels rising. Rex called out, monitoring the readings. Steady, steady. It's working. The blue light spread through dedicated channels throughout the ship, flowing like liquid energy through the veins of some massive beast. Systems began to activate one by one, consoles lighting up, engines humming with potential energy. Then something unexpected happened. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the bridge, swirling patterns of light that gradually coalesced into a humanoid shape, neither male nor female, with features that seemed to shift subtly moment by moment. Vessel activation protocol initiated. It announced in a voice that somehow reached their minds without passing through their ears. I am the ship's integrated neural network, designation Scion, identifying new crew. The 5 humans stood frozen in amazement. None of them had programmed this AI. This must be part of the original ship's systems, Jack whispered. The AI seemed to focus on Jack. Commander identified. Awaiting mission parameters. Jack exchanged looks with his crew, then straightened his shoulders and addressed the AI directly. Our mission is freedom. The Phoenix will break the chains that bind humanity. Sen's form flickered. Mission accepted. Beginning integration with current systems. Around them, the Phoenix seemed to come alive. Displays showed the AI rapidly analyzing and optimizing the ship's hybrid systems, finding connections and possibilities they hadn't even considered. It's learning, Anna said in wonder, adapting to our modifications and improving them, Rex added, watching the diagnostics. Look at the efficiency ratings. They're climbing by the second. The integration process continued for hours, with Cyan occasionally requesting information about certain technologies or asking for clarification on their purposes. By midnight, the AI announced completion. The Phoenix is ready for operation. Sin stated, all systems functional. May I suggest commencing flight tests at your earliest convenience? Jack looked around at his exhausted but exhilarated crew. Against all odds, they had done it. They had created something unprecedented. A ship made from the discarded pieces of a dozen civilizations, powered by ancient technology, and guided by an AI that predated the Confederation itself. Tomorrow, Jack decided. We see if she can fly. As the others retired to rest before the momentous day ahead, Jack remained on the bridge, running his hand along a console that blended sleek ancient design with rough-hewn human modifications. Tomorrow, he repeated softly to himself, everything changes. Outside the asteroid, the stars continued their eternal vigil, unaware that a force was about to emerge that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The asteroid facility's massive doors groaned open for the first time in 3 years. Inside, the Phoenix waited, its dark hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Jack stood on the bridge with his crew, each at their stations, faces illuminated by the soft glow of their consoles. All systems green. Rex reported from engineering, his fingers dancing across the hybrid controls. Power core stable at 40% capacity. Weapon systems online and ready. Mac confirmed, his scared face split by a rare smile. Still can't believe we got these working. Anna sat at the pilot's station, her hands hovering over the controls. Navigation is set for our test route. Minimal Confederation presence expected in that sector. Davis monitored the tactical display. Exit path is clear. No patrol ships detected within sensor range. Jack took a deep breath and settled into the commander's chair. This was the moment they had worked toward for so long, the maiden voyage of a ship that shouldn't exist. Sen, are you with us? Jack asked. The AI's holographic form appeared beside him. All systems integrated and functioning within optimal parameters. I am ready to assist, Commander. Jack nodded and gave the order they had all been waiting for. Take us out, Anna. Nice and easy. Anna's fingers connected with the controls, and the Phoenix hummed to life. The ship rose smoothly from its cradle, hovering for a moment before gliding forward through the open doors and into the darkness of space. Thrusters responding perfectly, Anna reported, her voice tight with concentration. Better than the simulations. Once clear of the asteroid, Anna engaged the main engines. The Phoenix surged forward with unexpected power, pushing them all back in their seats. Whoa, Rex called out, engine output exceeding predictions by 30%. Jack gripped his chair arms. Sin, what's happening? I have optimized engine efficiency based on crew intent and situational parameters, the AI replied calmly. The Phoenix is performing within safe operational limits. As they accelerated away from their hidden base, Jack ordered a series of maneuvers to test the ship's capabilities. The Phoenix responded with incredible agility for a vessel its size, turning and banking smoothly despite its patchwork construction. Let's test the stealth systems, Jack commanded once they were safely away from any known travel routes. Rex activated the system they had cobbled together from salvaged Confederation scout ships and components from the original ancient vessel. The lights on the bridge dimmed as power redirected. Stealth system engage, Rex confirmed. But we won't know if it's working until something tries to scan us. They wouldn't have to wait long for that test. Davis suddenly straightened at his console. Picking up a distress signal, he announced. Human frequency, coming from the Proxima outpost road. Put it through, Jack ordered. A frantic voice crackled over the comm system. Mayday, Mayday. This is Colony Transport Horizon. We are under attack by Confederation patrol ships. They claim we violated territorial restrictions. We have families aboard. Please, anyone. The message dissolved into static. Jack looked around at his crew, seeing his own decision reflected in their faces. The test flight had just become a rescue mission. Anna, set course for the Horizon's coordinates, maximum speed. Mac, ready weapons but don't power up yet. We'll use stealth to approach. The Phoenix changed course, its engines pushing to new limits as they raced toward the distress call. When they arrived at the coordinates, they found a grim scene. A bulky human colony ship drifting with visible damage to its engines, surrounded by 3 sleek Confederation patrol vessels firing warning shots. They're ordering the colonists to prepare for boarding, Davis reported, monitoring the communications. Standard procedure before they impound a ship for territorial violations. The colonists will be processed and likely separated. Jack had seen the results of such processing before. Families torn apart, assigned to different labor camps across Confederation space, children placed in education centers to be taught obedience. Not today, he said firmly. Sin, tactical analysis. How can we disable those patrol ships without destroying them? The AS holographic form expanded the tactical display. The Confederation vessels are T-class patrol ships with standard shield configurations. Their propulsion systems are vulnerable when they maintain stationary positions as they are now. Precision strikes here, and here would disable their ability to pursue without causing catastrophic damage. Jack nodded. Anna, bring us in behind the largest patrol ship. Mac, target those points Cyan indicated. Rex, prepare to drop stealth for weapons fire, then immediately reactivate. The Phoenix slid silently through space, invisible to the Confederation ship's sensors. When they were in position, Jack gave the command. Now. The stealth field dropped. Before the Confederation ships could react, the Phoenix fired 3 precise bursts from weapons that combined ancient technology with modern modifications. The effect was immediate. The patrol ship's engines sputtered and died, leaving it drifting helplessly. Stealth re-engaged. Rex called out as Anna banked the Phoenix sharply to reposition. The remaining Confederation ships scrambled to respond, but they were firing blindly, unable to get a lock on the suddenly invisible attacker. They're signaling for reinforcements, Davis reported. Then we need to finish this quickly, Jack decided. Same approach. Next target. The Phoenix appeared and disappeared like a ghost, striking with surgical precision. Within minutes, all 3 patrol ships were drifting with disabled engines and weapons, their crews untouched but helpless. Open a channel to the horizon, Jack ordered. A stunned-looking captain appeared on screen. Who are you? Friends, Jack replied simply. Can your ship still move? The captain nodded. Barely. We have minimal engine function. Then go now. Head for the Reynolds Nebula. The radiation will hide you until you can make repairs. The patrol ships are disabled, but they've called for backup. Thank you, the captain said, eyes wide with disbelief. But what ship are you? I've never seen anything like it on our side. Jack smiled. We're the Phoenix, and we're just getting started. As the Phoenix escorted the colony ship to the edge of the nebula, word of the encounter spread rapidly through the comm channels used by humans across the sector. By the time the Confederation sent reinforcements, both ships had vanished, the Phoenix back to its hidden base, and the horizon deep into the nebula's concealing clouds. In a Confederation command center, Admiral Corres reviewed the patrol ship's fragmentary sensor readings with growing concern. Show me again, he demanded of his officers. The grainy footage showed a vessel unlike any in their database. A dark hull of mixed materials, weapons that cut through shields like they weren't there, and the ability to vanish from sensors completely. Find me everything on this, Phoenix, he ordered, and get me Commander Vex. This is now his priority mission. Back at their asteroid base, Jack and his crew celebrated their first successful mission. What had begun as a test flight had become something more, a declaration that humanity would no longer accept its chains. To the Phoenix, Jack toasted, raising a cup with his crew. And to freedom. None of them yet realized just how much their actions that day would change the course of galactic history. Word spread through human settlements like wildfire. A mysterious ship had appeared from nowhere, defeated 3 Confederation patrol vessels without destroying them, and vanished again. Some called it a ghost story. Others named it hope. In his quarters aboard the Phoenix, Jack studied the latest intelligence Davis had gathered. 4 months had passed since their first encounter with Confederation forces, and in that time, they had conducted 7 more operations, freeing a human labor camp on Europa, intercepting a prisoner transport, and disrupting Confederation supply lines. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he called. Anna entered, her expression serious. We got another distress signal. Human mining outpost in the Cirrus Belt. Confederation forces are relocating them for alleged resource theft. Jack nodded grimly. Standard excuse. They find a rich vein. Suddenly humans are stealing resources and need to be moved. He grabbed his jacket. Gather the crew. We leave in 20 minutes. On the bridge, Sen's holographic form greeted them. Commander, before departure, I must share important findings from my analysis of Confederation communications. Go ahead, Jack said, settling into his chair. The AI displayed a series of decoded messages on the main screen. I have detected an unusual pattern in high-level Confederation communications regarding humanity. There are repeated references to something called the prophecy in relation to human containment policies. The crew exchanged puzzled looks. What prophecy? Mac asked, voicing what they all wondered. Details are fragmentary, Sin replied. However, I have compiled enough references to suggest that Confederation leadership believes an ancient prediction identifies humans as crucial to facing some future threat. That makes no sense, Rex objected. If we're so important, why keep us caged like animals? Sen's form flickered slightly. The most probable explanation based on available data. Fear. The Confederation fears human potential. This explains the systematic suppression of human technological advancement while simultaneously preserving the species. Jack frowned. They're keeping us like a tool in a box, making sure we don't grow too powerful, but keeping us around in case they need us. Precisely, Sen confirmed. And there is more. Commander Vex, who has been assigned to neutralize the Phoenix, has been given unprecedented resources for this task. The Phoenix is now officially designated as Galaxy's Most Wanted, with a bounty sufficient to purchase a small moon. Davis gave a low whistle. We've touched a nerve. Good, Jack said firmly. Let's touch another one. Anna, set course for the Cirrus mining outpost. Mac, weapons ready. Rex, I want the stealth systems at maximum efficiency. As they departed their hidden base, none of them noticed the tiny probe that had attached itself to an asteroid nearby, recording their exit trajectory. The mission to Ceres went smoothly, perhaps too smoothly. The Confederation forces surrendered quickly when the Phoenix appeared, barely putting up a fight. Something's not right, Jack muttered as they escorted the freed miners to safety. That was too easy. His suspicions proved correct. As they turned to head home, 3 Confederation battlecruisers dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in their path. Ambush, Davis called out, as the tactical display lit up with enemy signals. A face appeared on their communication screen, an alien with pale blue skin and eyes like black glass. Phoenix, this is Commander Vex of the Confederation Security Force. You are surrounded. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Jack signaled Mac to cut the transmission. Options, he asked his crew. We can't outgun 3 battlecruisers, Mac stated flatly. But we might outmaneuver them, Anna suggested. Their formation has a weak spot near the gravitational distortion from that nearby dwarf star. It's risky, Davis warned. Those gravity wells are unpredictable. Jack turned to Sin. Analysis. The AI's form expanded, displaying complex calculations. With precise timing, we can use the star's gravitational field to slingshot past the blockade. However, this will require pushing the power core to 85% capacity, higher than we have previously attempted. Jack made his decision. Do it. Rex, give the engines everything they can take. Anna, plot the slingshot course. What followed was a desperate race toward the dwarf star, with 3 battlecruisers in pursuit, firing constantly. The Phoenix shuddered under repeated hits, its shields holding but weakening. Shields at 40% and dropping. Rex called out. Almost there, Anna replied through gritted teeth, her hands dancing across the controls as she guided the ship toward the precise point, where the star's gravity would help rather than trap them. Confederation ships are spreading out to cut off escape routes, Davis reported. Jack held tight to his chair. Stay on course. Sin, divert all non-essential power to shields and engines. As they approached the gravitational threshold, the Phoenix began to shudder violently. Warning lights flashed across every console. Power core at 82% and climbing. Rex shouted over the noise. Hull integrity holding, but we're pushing the limits. Now, Anna, Jack commanded as they reached the critical point. Anna executed the maneuver perfectly. The Phoenix curved around the star's gravitational well, picking up tremendous speed. Behind them, one of the pursuing battlecruisers misjudged the approach and was caught in a stronger gravity field, its engines struggling to break free. It worked, Anna exclaimed as they shot past the blockade. Setting course for. A massive impact rocked the ship. Commander Vex's flagship had anticipated their move and positioned itself to fire a parting shot as they passed. Engine 2 is down, Rex reported urgently. Power fluctuations throughout the ship. Can we make it home? Jack asked. Rex shook his head. Not directly. We need repairs. Jack made a quick decision. Set course for the Omega Nebula. We have allies there. The Phoenix limped away, its stealth systems engaged but flickering, just barely staying ahead of pursuit. They reached the nebula's edge and vanished into its concealing gases and radiation, finally losing their pursuers. The nebula harbored a secret few knew, a coalition of alien species who disagreed with Confederation policies. These species, considered primitive or unimportant by Confederation standards, had been watching the Phoenix's activities with growing interest. When the damaged ship arrived at their hidden outpost, they welcomed Jack and his crew not as fugitives, but as heroes. Your resistance gives hope to many, said Trill, the leader of the coalition, a small, amphibious being whose species had been relegated to water worlds the Confederation deemed worthless. We have heard of your exploits. The Phoenix has become a symbol. As the Coalition's engineers helped repair their ship, Jack shared what Cian had discovered about the prophecy. Trill's large eyes widened. This confirms our suspicions. Our oldest records speak of a great darkness that once swept the galaxy, a threat that returns in cycles. If the Confederation fears humans may be key to fighting this threat, then they want to control us, keep us weak but available. Jack finished. Like a weapon they can use when needed, then lock away again. Trill nodded solemnly. But the Phoenix has changed the equation. You have shown that humans can master technologies the Confederation cannot control. As Jack looked around at the Coalition's hidden base, where species from across the galaxy worked together, free from Confederation hierarchy, a new vision formed in his mind. The Phoenix wasn't just a ship anymore. It was the beginning of a revolution. Back in Confederation space, Commander Vex stood before the High Council, his failure evident to all. The Phoenix escaped, but suffered significant damage, he reported. More importantly, we have tracked their general heading. They are seeking allies among the outer species. The eldest council member leaned forward. This cannot be allowed. If humans gain the support of even the lesser species, they could upset the balance. And if the prophecy is correct, if the Devourers truly return, I will find them, Vex promised. This ship of scrap metal and its human crew will not threaten our order. But even as he spoke, signals were spreading throughout the galaxy. Stories of the Phoenix, the ship that defied the mighty Confederation. For the first time in centuries, the established powers of the galaxy felt something they had almost forgotten. Fear. The warning came without fanfare, a simple signal from a distant monitoring station at the edge of known space. Something massive was moving toward Confederation territory, consuming everything in its path. In the Grand Council chamber, representatives from all 12 major Confederation species gathered in emergency session, their usual disputes forgotten in the face of extinction. The Devourers have returned, announced High Elder Corax, his voice echoing through the chamber. The ancient enemy, just as the prophecy foretold. Fear rippled through the assembly. The Devourers were more legend than history, a hive mind species that had nearly destroyed galactic civilization 100,000 years ago before mysteriously retreating into the void between galaxies. Our fleets are mobilizing, the military commander reported, but early engagements have been concerning. Devourer ships adapt quickly to our weapons. Conventional tactics are ineffective. Amid the growing panic, Commander Vex stepped forward. For months, he had hunted the Phoenix without success. Now he saw opportunity in disaster. The humans, he suggested. The prophecy speaks of them. Perhaps we should. Absolutely not, shouted another council member. Giving humans more technology now. They already have that rogue ship causing chaos. The argument might have continued, but at that moment, the chamber's main screen activated without command. Sin's holographic form appeared before the stunned council. Greetings, Confederation leaders, the AI said calmly. The Phoenix wishes to open negotiations. Aboard the Phoenix, fully repaired and enhanced with technologies from their coalition allies, Jack and his crew watched the council's reaction through Sin's remote connection. Think they'll listen? Mac asked, cleaning his weapons out of habit. They have no choice, Davis said. The Devourers have already destroyed 3 outer Confederation worlds. Their standard tactics are failing. Jack nodded grimly. The prophecy was about this. The Devourers return. The ancients who built our ship fought them before. Sin has the memories. Over the past month, Sin had unlocked more of the ship's original database, revealing the terrible truth. The ancient species that built the Phoenix's core had battled the Devourers to near extinction. Before they were wiped out, they had scattered pieces of their technology across the galaxy, along with a prediction that someday, a species with the right mental flexibility would reassemble it to fight when the Devourers returned. The Council is responding, Sin announced. On their screen, Commander Vex appeared, his expression a mixture of anger and desperation. Phoenix, your interference in Confederation affairs is criminal, but current circumstances are exceptional. What do you propose? Jack leaned forward. A truce. We join forces against the Devourers. In return, humanity is granted full independence and member status in the Confederation afterward. Impossible, Vex spluttered. The Council would never. The Devourer fleet will reach your core worlds in 16 days, Jack interrupted. By then, you'll have lost half your military capacity, based on current engagement reports. We've analyzed their attack patterns. We can help. A tense silence followed. Finally, Vex spoke. I will convey your offer to the Council. But know this, human, if this is some trick to gain advantage. It's not about advantage anymore, Jack said quietly. It's about survival. For all of us. 3 days later, the Phoenix led a coalition of ships toward the approaching Devourer fleet. Behind them flew Confederation forces, a reluctant alliance born of desperation. On the Phoenix's bridge, Jack studied the tactical display showing the massive Devourer ships, organic-looking vessels that seemed to pulse with dark energy. They're beautiful in a terrifying way, Anna observed from the pilot's station. And deadly, added Davis. Those lead ships have already adapted to standard Confederation weapons. Energy-based attacks are mostly ineffective now. Jack turned to Sin. What's our advantage? The AI's holographic form expanded to show a detailed analysis. The Devourers operate as a hive mind. They adapt quickly but think collectively. They expect logical, predictable responses based on previous encounters. And we're anything but predictable, Rex said with a grim smile. Exactly, Jack agreed. Our ship is a patchwork of technologies they've never encountered together. Our human minds think differently than the Confederation species. We're the wild card. So what's the plan? Mac asked, his fingers hovering over the weapons controls. Jack outlined their strategy. The Phoenix would penetrate to the heart of the Devourer fleet, targeting what Sin identified as their command node. Meanwhile, the Coalition and Confederation forces would provide distraction and cover. It's a suicide mission, Commander Vex objected over the comlink. Maybe, Jack acknowledged. But it's the only way. Your ships can't get close enough anymore. They're too predictable. The Devourers adapt to each attack, but the Phoenix, they won't know what to make of us. As they approached the massive enemy fleet, Jack addressed his crew one last time. Whatever happens today, remember what we built. A ship from discarded pieces that became something new, something powerful. Just like humanity will be after today, no longer forgotten or restricted, but recognized for what we can become. The battle began with a coordinated attack from the combined fleet. The Phoenix, using its advanced stealth technology, slipped through the chaos toward the heart of the enemy formation. Stealth failing, Rex reported as they penetrated deeper. They're starting to detect us. That's expected, Jack replied calmly. Sin, initiate Protocol Omega. The AI acknowledged the command, and the Phoenix began to change. The power core surged to 100% capacity for the first time, energy flowing through every system in patterns that shifted constantly, never establishing a recognizable signature. They can't adapt to what they can't predict, Jack explained as enemy fire began to track them. Keep changing our approach, random patterns, just like we practiced. Anna flew with inspired brilliance, never maintaining a course long enough for the Devourers to lock on. Mac fired the weapons in seemingly illogical combinations that nonetheless found their targets with devastating effect. The Phoenix shuddered under enemy fire, shields weakening but holding. Around them, the battle raged, with Confederation ships falling to the Devourers' adaptive defenses, while the Coalition vessels fared slightly better with their unconventional technologies. We're almost at the command node, Davis reported, his voice tight. But our shields are at 15%. One direct hit, and we're finished. Then we don't get hit, Jack said simply. Anna, give us everything. Rex, divert all remaining power to engines and weapons. The Phoenix surged forward in a final burst of speed, taking damage but still advancing. They reached the massive central ship, a pulsing behemoth that coordinated the entire Devourer fleet. Target locked, Mac announced, firing main cannon. The weapon, a hybrid of ancient technology and human innovation, fired a beam of energy unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. It struck the command node, penetrating shields that had repelled every Confederation weapon. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Devourer command ship began to pulse erratically. Throughout the enemy fleet, ships suddenly lost coordination, their movements becoming confused and disorganized. It's working, Davis exclaimed. Their hive mind is disrupted. Jack nodded, allowing himself a brief smile. Send the signal to all Allied ships. Attack now, while they're vulnerable. The Phoenix, badly damaged but still functioning, turned to join the counterattack. The combined fleet fell upon the disorganized Devourers with renewed vigor, targeting the weak points Cyan had identified. What followed was the most decisive battle in the galaxy's recent history. Without their coordinated hive mind, the Devourer ships fell one by one. The Phoenix, despite its damage, continued to fight until the last enemy vessel was destroyed or retreating. When it was over, Jack stood before the Confederation Council, his crew beside him. The Phoenix, now legendary throughout the galaxy, orbited the Confederation capital world, no longer hiding, but honored. You have fulfilled the prophecy, High Elder Corax acknowledged. Humanity proved to be exactly what the ancients foresaw, a species whose unpredictability and adaptability could counter the Devourer hive mind. And our agreement, Jack prompted. Commander Vex stepped forward, his previous animosity replaced by grudging respect. The Council has voted. Humanity is granted full independence and Confederation membership, with all rights and privileges. Jack nodded, accepting the victory they had fought so hard to achieve. But he knew this was just the beginning. The Phoenix, a ship made from scrap that had become the galaxy's biggest threat, then its salvation, represented a new path forward. The old barriers between species must end, Jack told the Council. Our coalition proved that diversity of thought and technology creates strength, not weakness. The Phoenix isn't just a human achievement. It's a testament to what can be accomplished when we combine our unique perspectives. As Jack and his crew returned to their ship, they looked toward a future where humanity would take its rightful place among the stars, not as servants or tools, but as equals. The ship that had started as a collection of discarded parts had changed the course of galactic history forever. And somewhere in deep space, the last Devourer ships retreated, carrying with them the knowledge that they had encountered something unprecedented, a galaxy that had learned to turn its differences into its greatest strength.